morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk Sunday Stream of Consciousness. We're back and better than ever, hopefully. How are you guys today? Great to have you all with us. We're just jumping over from the big football show here on the McGrath Streaming Podcast Project Network. I guess I should be in there. I don't know. But it's TGI Sports Talk, and we are part of the McGrath Streaming Project. Damn, I'd had it right like 10 times in a row. McGrath Streaming Podcast Project. But I had a good time with the fellows this morning. Good morning to all of you watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you may catch us with the groups later. I apologize to some of the groups. If you're not seeing the show, it's because Facebook has been doing some weird stuff with my shows. I have no idea why, and they're not showing up on some of the groups. So overall viewership has been down a little bit the last 10 days or so. I don't think through any of our efforts. I think that's through Facebook and their fascist ways. But anyway, our favorite groups are certainly scrolling at the bottom. As always, John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities, Greg Rawlings from America's Pastime to Love for Baseball, Flo and Can over there at Bottom Line Sports. Check out their podcast. They do some great stuff. That show does broadcast live on Let's Talk Sports, where we still have DDH, thumbs up, and Mac McGrath, thumbs up to you. Let's Talk Sports, still going strong. Dan Harris started it up. Tanner D doing a good job keeping that rolling. Ken Krause over at Golf Bud, Sports of All Sorts. And quick shout out to Ralph Williams over at RW Media. Ralph does some great stuff out of Ocean City, Maryland. Kind of Pittsburgh focused, but a national footprint, specifically the Sports Corner, every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be on with tomorrow morning with Jack. With Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook, we'll kind of look at all the NFL news and same stuff we're going to do today. We're going to look at the games beforehand. We'll talk college football, yesterday's Army-Navy game. We'll talk about the college football playoff. We'll look at the first round games and Miami's tough path if they expect to win. Mendoza wins the Heisman in a landslide yesterday. I thought it'd be much, much closer. First Indiana Hoosier to win. We can talk about that. We can talk about the Sherrone Moore situation and what Michigan's going to do going forward, which could have a domino effect around college football yet again with coaches and players. The NFL, Phillip Rivers, the big story this week, and they've got a tough game with Seattle. Phillip Rivers looks like me in a football uniform right now, quite frankly, and I'm not sure this is going to work out well. Well, we got some big games, including my Patriots and Bills facing off with the Bills trying to cut that division lead, the Chiefs trying to stay alive, and some other big games we can certainly talk about today. What are the other big games today? Chiefs, Chargers, we just talked about. Packers and Broncos, Lions and Rams, Colts, Seahawks, even the Dolphins and Steelers a little bit of interest there. Paul Wiggins passes away. Our condolences to his family and friends. Paul Wiggins, a longtime NFL player with the Browns, great player with the Browns, and a coach with the Chiefs, and the head coach with the Chiefs and Stanford. He actually coached the game when the band came on the field. Stanford Cal. So condolences to his family and friends. We can talk some baseball. There's other football news, obviously. We can talk some baseball. The Mets have lost Alonso and Diaz already, and they signed Polanco, 32 years old, to play first base, a position he's never played before. Yankees quiet so far in the offseason. The NBA, San Antonio beats OKC, who's now 24-2. Tremendous start for this team. Detroit with a great start. The Knicks 18-7 under new coach Mike Brown. They've always struggled to start the season, including very successful seasons under Coach Thibodeau. But a good start for the Knicks in a new system and a new coach. But it's your show. Let's see who's with us. You guys take it away. Good morning, Danny Fuller. Danny up bright and early for the big football show this morning at 5 a.m. his time. 6 a.m. now, but we're always happy Danny can join us. as well as CA out there in the Panhandle, I don't know, out in Texas. Michael Abrams, good morning. How are you, my friend? Good to have you with us. Michael Dighton Edwards, good to have you here with us. Check out Michael's latest article on TGI Sports Talk. I've shared it to my page, share it to some of my favorite blogging groups and sports, general sports groups. Great reception to Michael's writing. And he's a great writer, too, by the way. Spins quite a tale. Chris Fgrave with us early up there in Toronto, or the Ontario area. Very quietly, the NHL and the Rockies have started to see 23-2. Great point. You know, I had pulled up the NHL, Chris, just because we hadn't had a chance to talk about it. Chris had asked if we were going to talk college basketball on the college football huddle. Yes, we kind of transfer. As we get to less football, we'll start to talk some more basketball. I have a hard time with pro basketball, college basketball, hockey. Until football's done, it's hard for me to get into these sports. January, I get into college basketball a little bit and some NBA. NHL is very hard for me to get into until we get started with the season. But great point and a great start for the Colorado Avalanche, 23-2. Tremendous. And there's some other good stories, too. The Knights are off to a good start. Rangers are struggling badly. Their Islanders have gotten off to a good start and struggled a little bit more recently, but some good stories in the AHL, and we can certainly talk about those at any point. Danny says Sonia is in New Orleans for her Panther game. I hope she survives. Listen, don't count out the Panthers or the Saints. They just beat the Buccaneers. The Panthers are a better football team. They have not improved as much as some other teams that will go nameless here. Fix my collar and you can see the but they're much improved. But the problem is you know what you're going to get week to week. I don't think that's a given today, but I do think the Panthers will win. CA talks about the TGI Sports Talk Fantasy Football League playoffs are here. I am not in them. We improved the overall competition in the league. More nail-biting matchups is the goal. I think we did have a much better participation in the league this year, so great job, CA. Great job running that league. I didn't have a great year. I'm in the playoffs in just one of the three leagues that I'm in. Fortunately, that is a paid league, and I do have a bye this week, so I don't have to worry about any lineups at all this week. But good luck to all those who are competing there, and we'll also go through the pick'em later on. Chris F.K., previous from Cambridge, as in the college in England. Chris has bring some great stuff to the try. I challenged him a long time ago to bring irreverent pieces to the show that we can chat about. And he's done a great job of that. At one point in time, we were talking, and I used the word irrelevant. It's not what I meant. I do malaprop now and again, as you likely know if you've watched this show even once. But we have a lot of fun. Kenley Jansen is knocking on Lee Smith's door on the all-time saves list. Is he? Does anybody think Kenley Jansen, and this is the problem with relievers, right? I don't even know where Lee Smith stands these days because other than Mariano Rivera, I think closers are very overrated. Let's see who's there, Joe. Just Chris brought this up. We know Mo's number one at 652. Where is Lee Smith? 478. Kenley Jansen has 476 saves. Wow. I never would have thought it. Wow. He's only two behind Lee Smith. But they're not getting any further because Hoffman, I don't think Hoffman and Mo will ever get caught, quite frankly. Couple things. I'm going to start off with college football a little bit. until you guys have more comments to pull me away from it. Well, there's one right now. Kenley Jansen converted catcher to Paul. He's not going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think. Oh, I got to tell you, it is hard to get in the Hall of Fame as a reliever. It's not easy, even though Mo's the only all-time unanimous pick. I'm just looking at his overall numbers here because they're in run average and such. I mean, that guy's, he's better than I would. I got to give him more credit, I guess, than I am. It's so easy to get saves today compared to years ago. Mo had the same advantage, by the way, although Mo did pitch a lot of, 4 or 5, 6 out saves. Nobody pitches that now. Nobody comes in with men on base. When I think of great relief pitchers, I still go back to Goose and Sparky. Guys who came in the 5th inning. I think relievers are underused or incorrectly used. Your game isn't on the line all the time in the 9th inning. Sometimes your game's on the line in the 4th and 5th inning with the bases loaded and nobody out. That's when I want my closer in there. That's when I want my guy. If he's that important, he ought to be in that spot, not with a 3-run lead in the 9th inning. Right? But anyway, congratulations to Kelsey, and he will be probably a potential Hall of Famer. My favorite submarine sandwich toppings. Blue Jays sign 2 Kent Tekulves. I'm a Mike's. I don't know if you guys know Jersey Mike's. I like Jersey Mike's. I really do. It reminds me of Mike's Submarine. We had Mike's in the Submarine and Neba's we had when I was a kid in Amsterdam, New York. And it's very similar. And I like the turkey and roast beef Jersey Mike's, and I like it Mike's way. Lots of shredded lettuce, onion, tomato, and Mike's dressing with pepper. Love Jersey Mike's. There you go, Danny. They're messy sometimes, but I'm a big Jersey Mike's fan. I got to tell you, they're not inexpensive, but nobody puts meat on a sandwich like Jersey Mike's. I have to tell you. Attaboy, Danny. Big Jersey Mike's guy. I'm hungry. Let's see if my wife wants to do Jersey Mike's for dinner. Just kidding. Oh, God. What was I going to talk about here before we started talking about food? Make me hungry. 27 pounds. 27 pounds. I haven't had the best week this week. I've put a couple of pounds on the last few days. Been a little sloppy, but we'll get back on it after. Today we'll have, 4 or 5 light beers, and we'll get back on our regimen here this week before the holidays hit. My goal. College football. Thank you, Danny. Mendoza wins. First, very emotional speech last night. I thought this was going to be a closer race between him and Pavia. They both had great seasons, very close numbers-wise. I think playing for Indiana, being Indiana's best season ever in its history. I think it's fitting that he's their first Heisman Trophy winner. He had his Heisman moment against Penn State. Pavia had some really good moments as well. But I think Mendoza wins. It's funny because Pavia is not going to get drafted in the next draft. Mendoza will get drafted early. But this is a horrendous quarterback draft. I mean, I keep saying it. And John Gonzalez from the Sports Authority sent me a message about Arch Manning. And I agree with him 100%. If Arch Manning was coming out this year, and he's not, Arch Manning would be a number 1 pick in the draft. He'd certainly be the first quarterback off the board because the guy I think has the most potential going forward is Dante Moore. And I'm not putting a lot of stock in that either. I think Moore and Mendoza could have decent careers. But here's the top 12 guys. Dante Moore, but Mendoza, Ty Simpson, Nussmeier, who got benched. The kid from SC, Malvia, I'm not sure if he's coming out. John Batier, I don't know that he's coming out. Lenore Sellers, we found out yesterday, is going back to South Carolina. Klubnik was awful in his senior year. Sam Levitt, not that big. Pavia, I don't think he gets drafted, quite frankly. If he does, it'll be late. Sorsby out of Cincinnati, no. Carson Beck, right behind all those guys. But congratulations to Mendoza, a nice Heisman win. We had Army Navy yesterday, so we had some good stories yesterday. CA says the PDA, no public displays of affection on the show. World Championship started on the 11th, runs through New Year's in the final now for £1 million. I don't know what that amounts to in dollars. Where are they playing that, by the way? College football, 10 days, but the past 2 years, it was the past 2 years or so that led to the past 10 days. Well, in Sharon Moore's case, it was the past 6 years, 7 years, because apparently his nonsense that he's been pulling, married, 3 children, but the guy's been a pig since 2018 at a minimum. This should put to rest, by the way. We had this conversation come up a little bit on the Wednesday professional show that, this was Michigan's way of finally getting rid of the last remnants of the Harbaugh legacy. And this was just that, not fire. We didn't know all the details, quite frankly, at the time. And the details that have come out here should tell you that this guy should not be the leader of young men. Or the leader of anybody. You make your own decisions in life. Some things are more tragic than others. This is tragic for his family. This guy made his decisions, and all of them were bad. And it's very unfortunate. The guy's on top of the world as a coach of the winningest college football program in history, and he can't keep it in his pants. I'm sorry for the crude remark, but that at the end of the day, that's all it is. And now he has nothing. Now he's fired for cause. They don't have to pay him a nickel. He's going to lose his family. He's lost his reputation. He'll never coach at any major level again. We're a very forgiving country in a lot of ways. And there are people saying that Harbaugh's going to hire him. Harbaugh's never hiring Sharon Moore. Never. And now Michigan has got to find a coach. We've already passed and I think you'll see a coach here well before Christmas, probably in the next week to 10 days. That's Christmas. Before Christmas, you should see a coach because we've already passed the early commitment. They got to find a way to keep Bryce Underwood in the fold. And you've got the transfer portal on January 6th. So happy to see Army Navy go well yesterday. Quality game. Mendoza is a quality kid. When I say he shouldn't get drafted early in this NFL draft, it's got nothing to do with his character, I can tell you. He's a smart kid. He's a smart quarterback. He plays well. He looks like a quarterback. But I don't think this is a bad class and somebody's going to overreach. But congratulations. He deserves this. Great college quarterback. This takes nothing away from his accomplishments in college if he were to fail on the professional level. I say this all the time. The Army Navy was an exciting game, I thought, yesterday. I did bet Army yesterday, +7, so I was happy with the outcome. They played hard. They played very hard. Hessam, the quarterback, matched Horvath. Horvath didn't play as well as he hadn't played in other games, but the Army defense was tremendous. And I've never seen a fortunate bounce like I saw that fumble that he had going for the first down right at the end of the game, 3rd down and 1, I believe. They went for 4th and 1 at the goal line to go ahead by 1. And then they had this fortunate bounce back into. I've never seen a guy prone to the ground, have the ball outstretched like this, lose it, and have it bounce right back into his hand. But a great game. And listen, true amateurs out there, the only ones still playing just for the love of football are these two teams. And I will say again, I say it a lot. If you haven't read John Feinstein's book, A Civil War, go get it. Kindle, you can probably get it cheap. It's been out for a long time. It follows the cadets at Army and Navy for a year leading up to the Army-Navy game, and it's a great, great read. As I said, Can, good to have you with us. Can from the Bottom Line Sports podcast. Great job that him and Flo do. Mendoza's a worthy winner. Pavia had his own moments, but I think the fact that Mendoza played on the number one team in the country, who's never finished number one before, at least at the end of the regular season, never had a Heisman winner. So they have their best season in their history. They get their first Heisman winner. I think the story is wonderful, and Heisman is all about great stories in my mind. Think back to John Cappelletti. I thought he gave a really great speech too last night. Very emotional. Pavia, in his own way, deserving. And Jeremiah Love was the third place. I was surprised it was such a blowout, quite frankly. I thought it'd be much closer when I looked at some of the straw polls that I'd seen from The Athletic and places like that. I think Mendoza's going top 5, quite frankly. I don't think he should. Yeah, I think we know my take on quarterbacks. We reach way too often for quarterbacks, but there's a couple teams desperate for quarterbacks, and Mendoza will get picked way too soon. I think all of these quarterbacks I just mentioned a minute ago, Can and the rest of you, I don't think any of them are better than late first round, second round picks. You can wait on a quarterback here. Don't reach. There's better players at other positions, and most of these teams that are picking early have lots of needs other than just quarterback. So I don't know that he had a great year. And I was promoting Pavia too, but the fact that two quarterbacks from Indiana and Vandy finished 1 and 2 is a tremendous story all in itself in today's day and age, right? Do I think he deserved it? Sure. But I think Mendoza does too. It's very similar to the AL MVP race. I think you had two guys that you can make an argument, either one of them, and I wouldn't argue with you. If Pavia had won this award, I wouldn't have been screaming. And I think Pavia, I do not think he gets drafted, quite frankly. And if he does, it's going to be very late in this draft. I cannot see him playing on the next level at his size. He's a dynamic college player, and none of that, whether he ever plays the NFL or not, or whether he plays and doesn't succeed. Same way with Mendoza. That doesn't diminish what you did in college. Too often I see, how good was that guy, Tim Tebow, Archie Griffin, who I think is the greatest college player of all time, Archie Griffin. Too often they're judged by their professional success. One has nothing to do with the other. Maybe more so today because the games are more closely related in how they're played. But still, one really doesn't have anything to do with the other. Mendoza did win easily. Army-Navy pros and cons to where it stands today. Personally, I still love it, as do I. It was the only thing on TV from the 11:30 pregame to 4 p.m. And by the way, there used to be no game at all played. You'd see the Division 2 and 3, which you could have caught some of those playoffs, I think, yesterday, which are some good football played. I think Villanova and I can't remember who else advanced to the finals in the FCS championships. I could be wrong about that. But this was always a standalone game. And again, Danny, you've talked about expanding the playoffs and expansion, and Michael has. A lot of us have, I guess. There's going to be an expansion, and the more they expand, the more likely of this Army-Navy game having a standalone presence the way it does now. and I do still think is relevant. I had some people at my house yesterday who do not watch college football, and they walked in and they were excited Army Navy was on. Again, it's a different, it's a totally different atmosphere. I mean, who would you rather watch Army Navy in that packed house full of cadets and family and friends and fans, or the LA Bowl, which by the way is defunct after last night, where the stands? You saw SoFi Stadium last night, Danny. I'm sure at some point. I think I could have counted the fans on two hands. So Army Navy still, and it was a fun game to watch. Because you look at it, if you're watching Alabama Georgia and you watch a slugfest like Army Navy, you're going to say, "Oh, geez, that's boring." But this is what you expect from Army Navy. A bunch of kids going nowhere except to defend their country, wanting to win as badly as anybody else in the country, or more. So 1 million of anything is enough to make my bank account feel much, much better. Where did $1 million come from? Sometimes I forget what gets said. Breaking news: Biff Paggi signed an endorsement deal with Speedo. Oh, no. You know, Biff's a popular guy in Michigan. This is a guy who's made millions, I think, in, I don't know, tech. I think in tech. I'm not sure. Doesn't need to be coaching. He's already had one stint as the interim coach here. Short. One game, maybe. Maybe it was two. Very popular with the players. I guess it wouldn't shock me if, as a bridge, Biff Paggi gets this job. If he has some kind of relationship with Bryce Underwood and able to keep him and some of these other recruits. Remember, we just had the early commitment just a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Not even 2 weeks ago. Michigan's in a rough spot, man. Teams are going to line up to come after Bryce Underwood. They're going to line up to come after their early recruits. We got the portal coming. They need a coach, and they need a coach who can stabilize that situation quickly. And the AD's got to go. Forget about the Harbaugh situation. You know, again, overblown, nonsensical, selective enforcement nonsense on the NCAA's part. This is a really big deal. This is a guy who, from all intents, by all reports, I should say, it sounds like everybody in Ann Arbor knew what was going on. And not just this summer and fall, but going back to 2018. Anthony Mason, great Nick at great call there. A happy heavenly birthday to Anthony. Great Nick, tough player, man. He did have an accomplished NBA career. Played well with some good Nick teams. He was an enforcer, tough player. Good call. Historic Alexandria Palace. Ooh, yeah, is that in Egypt? I don't know any other Alexandria. I'm sorry. Is that in Egypt? I don't know. Where exactly is that? Michigan fan here, as we know, ashamed of us more. He should be. Sad for him as a human being. More sad for his 3 daughters and his wife. I agree 100%. And again, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You know, who knows? I feel bad for his daughters for sure, and his wife most likely. Today's day and age, it's just been going on since 2018. Maybe she knows. I don't know. Probably not. Probably not the extent. And then to flip out. I mean, now that it comes out, you know, that when she broke this off, he didn't stop calling her, and He was stalking her. She brings all this evidence after lying all summer. She brings all this evidence. I'm sure she's got fired. I don't know. We'll have to find out. Rick did ask that question the other night. I still don't know. I'm assuming she's been fired. But she brings all this evidence to Michigan. They fire him immediately, and he just goes ballistic because, hello, dude, you blew your own life up. She didn't blow it up. You know, if you don't pump the freaking TNT into the cannon, it's got nothing to blow shit up with. It is a sad story, though. And he's destroyed his own life, which is sad, too. I mean, but again, you can't feel sorry for him, but it's a sad situation. Freaking guy's on top of the world. Jed Fish is a great, great coach. He did great work at our Arizona. He's done a great job getting Washington back on the right track. He's a great assistant at Michigan. He was also top-notch assistant in New England before he went to Arizona. Problem is, you know, if you hire now an established Division I coach, now you've got two programs that are going to be in kind of disarray at a very important time in the calendar year. Because you've got a recruiting class that you'd have to try to save at Michigan, and he's going to bring certain kids with him from that recruiting class and certain kids in the transfer portal. Now, Washington's got to find a coach, and they've got to try to keep their kids in the program. Remember, Kalen DeBoer went late in the process to Alabama just 2 years ago from Washington, and it hurt them badly. Jed Finch done a great job. Fish. I want to put an N there all the time. Has done a great job of righting the ship there, but this is the nature of the beast. And he's a great coach, and from all accounts, a better person. Problem is, I don't know if they're going to make a move before the AD goes. This is why a guy like Biff Paggi might be a solution in the short term at Michigan. Just saying, I don't know if that'll happen. I'm just trying to think out loud because you're probably not going to want to hire a coach until you fire the AD and get a new one. Nobody's signing more. There's certain guys who should get. I mean, we are a forgiving country, and in certain cases, we probably should be. I'm all for second chances for certain people. Guys like this, not so much. You know, this wasn't like one indiscretion. For one indiscretion, I get it. This guy's been living a double life for, 7 years. I don't have a lot of sympathy, and I do not think he gets another chance. I really don't. I mean, he might get he's not coaching at a Power 4 school. He's probably not getting a head coaching job anywhere at the FBS level. He's probably going to have to be an assistant, and my guess would be if he's going to be an assistant, it's going to be in the NFL. And it's not going to be right away because he's facing about 6 years in prison. Canseco makes a strong point about not being a power hitter. Not being a power hitter in the major leagues. He spent most of his youth being groomed as a pitcher until he got injured and converted to outfielder. Obviously, Jose Canseco's brother, Ozzie, much less accomplished. Since Notre Dame's Love lost the Heisman this year, Freeman and AD have announced a new agreement with the American Athletic Club that future Irish in the top 25 consideration will automatically be included in the Final Four. That's pretty funny, Michael. By the way, speaking of Freeman, his name is again circling the NFL. I've thought for a long time that Marcus Freeman would be a lifer at Notre Dame. I don't think he takes another college job ever. So forget that, Michigan. You could do a lot worse than Marcus Freeman, by the way, but I don't think that happens. I think if he does go, it will be to the next level. And I think with this exclusion and things, even with the NCAA giving them their little, by the way, it didn't happen after the fact. Let's be clear. Because again, I was wrong when I reported this myself. I think it might have been last Sunday. I might have posted it in the group chat first that the NCAA had this agreement with Notre Dame that if they finished in the top 12, they would not be left out of the playoff. That agreement was signed last spring, not after this passing over of Notre Dame. I do think this passing over of Notre Dame and their refusal to potentially join a league might influence Marcus Freeman about staying at Notre Dame and considering pro options. The Giants are interested. Why you'd want to get yourself in that mess, I have no idea. But he is reported to be on their short list of candidates. And he will surely be on other teams' list of candidates. But it's just a situation that bears watching. James Madison should be Division. They shouldn't be Division 3, Dan. It's a little rough. FCS, I can see, right? Which is where they came from. They've only been, remember, this team's only been at the FBS level, I don't know, 7 years? 7 or 10 years? I'm not going to disrespect JMU. They did play an FBS schedule. They didn't play any top 20 teams. But listen, this is a well-coached team, and Division 3 coaches from Division 3 teams don't often go to the Big Ten and win it when your team that you're taking over hasn't won in 80 years an outright conference championship. So they're doing something right at JMU. Just saying. And their coach is now your coach. Now, with that said, I'm not saying they're going to do some damage in the playoff because I don't think they are. I think they're going to get their hats handed to them. I think Tulane does as well. There are more people at Jersey Mike's in Toledo than at SoFi Stadium for the Gronk Bowl. It's not the Gronk Bowl. Oh, God. Gronk Bowl. That's a good one. No more Gronk Bowl. No more LA Bowl. They folded. They announced they were folding before the game last night. Too many bowl games, right? We argued this the other night. Nobody's watching them. I turned that game on. It was 31-3. And I'm telling you, I there probably were more people at the Jersey Mike's in Toledo, Michael. Jensen's a great pickup for the Tigers. Good morning, Jeremy. Good to have you with us. Check out Jeremy's podcast. Knee Buddy with smoking. I don't know if that's the actual give me the podcast name. I can't remember all these podcasts. Barely remember my own. But Jeremy does some great stuff out of Detroit. Big Detroit Lion fan and Tiger fan. And he will be. Listen, he'll be a good pickup for the Tigers. I get it. I'm just not the biggest Kensley Jansen fan in the world, okay? Don't kill me for that. California had more fans at the state championship football game. Saddleback JC. Concord. At the football game, Saddleback. Junior college, I guess we're talking about, right? Concord De La Salle got smashed by Santa Margarita anyway. The moral of the story is more fans were there than at SoFi. Scary. Why again, it's just fodder for television. I don't know who's watching last night, watching that game. God. I watched a Santa Claus 2. Dillinger from ASU. You're not Dillinger. You're talking about the quarterback? Oh, you're talking about the coach, Dillingham. I don't think he's going. I mean, again, Flo talked about the fact that McGuire wasn't going to leave Texas Tech because that's his school. Charlie Lee didn't leave Vanderbilt because that's his school, and they extended him. Both those guys got extended this year. I think Dillingham he's an ASU guy, and I don't know that he's going to leave. I wouldn't say that alone keeps him there because I've said that about the other guys. So ASU better pony up. He's a great coach. Between the two guys, I'd want Jed Fish, but. And I personally don't know that you're going to get one of those guys this time in a calendar year. These schools are going to do what they can to keep these coaches because now if they let them go, they're in the same situation as Michigan and scrambling, just like Alabama was after Nick Saban retired late in January 2 years ago, and Kalen DeBoer left Washington late in January. This is a little better. I do think you'll see a head coach here in the next, as I said, the next 10 days or so. Because they need to get out in front of that January 6th portal, and they need to get somebody on board trying to save recruits, and most importantly, keep Bryce Underwood and some of these other undergrads that are already there in the program. So the next head coach is going to be a guy who does the best there. Again, Dillingham. Congratulations to UCLA water polo NCAA champions. You are pulling an S-grade. That's good. Chris, how did you let Danny steal this away from you? Listen, this is the thing with the Pac-12 breaking up. It's not just football and basketball that is affected. Pac-12 was very good in a lot of other sports: volleyball, water polo, as Danny talked about, track and field. Tons of athletes. All that history wiped out. Yeah, they're coming back next year, but with what? Yunari Kawasaki player played for the Middle East in Baseball United tournament, won the Barry Larkin Award. Did I read all? I didn't know any of those things were a thing. Oh, Chris is the best. Man. Who's he signing with? What is being said that they knew was an expectation. Paige Shrivers still works there. She should get fired as well, by the way, because she lied all summer about the relationship. She's being portrayed as a victim here, right? And yes, what Sharon Moore did after he was fired is reprehensible. Right? Breaking down her door, threatening to kill himself in front of her. But this is not an innocent bystander here. She participated in an illicit extramarital affair with a married man and lied about it to college officials. Why is she still working there? Why? I'm sorry. Why? There's no good reason. There's no reason you're going to give me that's any good. Moore didn't get fired until all this came out. Moore wasn't getting fired. You really think they were going to fire Sherrod Moore unless this came out? This isn't an excuse to fire him. I think, listen, from the outside looking in, Jeremy, Sherrod Moore didn't do a horrible job, in my mind. You got a true freshman quarterback. Would you go 9-3? When your last 8 games the year before, when they had lost 14 guys or whatever to the NFL? And you beat Ohio State? He didn't get fired because of what he did as a coach. That's not, it can't be even accurate. If this story doesn't break, he doesn't get fired. And this story had to break. So this is all a great conspiracy to get rid of Sherrone Moore. And maybe I'm misreading what you're saying, Jeremy, and I apologize if I am. I want to say something about Paggi. He had a few years down here at Charlotte. Awesome guy, just not set up to succeed here. I don't think anyone can. I would agree with that statement. And I've heard nothing but great things about Biff Paggi, quite frankly. Plus, it's a great name. And I think he ought to be able to, he might be, listen, I think Michigan probably, if they were smart, rather than lock themselves into some ridiculous contract with somebody like Jed Fish, who I love, or Dillingham, or whomever, John Gruden, you can pick whatever suspect you want. You got to straighten out the head of that program, right? Because I got to tell you, everything going on here, the AD and the president both ought to be in trouble here. I know the AD is. But this thing was going on under their noses, not for, 6 months. And until you straighten that out, you're nuts to hire a coach. That's doing things backwards. If I'm Michigan, I make Biff Paggi the coach, the full-time coach, give him a 2-year contract, straighten out my leadership at the AD and maybe even higher, and then go from there. Vic, you're not going to need to sign Vic Paggi to a 10-year contract. He's 67 years old. He's going to be happy to have the job. And by all accounts, he's got great character. It won't happen because it makes too much sense. Tiger time. Snitch blows the lead on Tiger Woods, and Vanessa Trump blows the lid. Well, we already knew that, didn't we? Who's the snitch? This isn't a new story, though. They have been, supposedly canoodling. It's a great word. Fit that into conversation today. There's your challenge. They've been canoodling for months. Good morning, Rick. How are you, my friend? The Messiah. Philip Rivers is starting for the Colts today. Philip Rivers, who's 44 years old, a grandfather, and the only player that I know of who sat out 5 years. And please don't compare this to Tom Brady or anybody else who made comebacks, because nobody's ever sat out 5 years. Tom Brady never sat out more than a few months. Plus, Tom Brady actually did some workouts. Philip Rivers looked like me. I said I'm pretty sure it looked like they superimposed his head on my body the other day when I watched him working out. He's going to get hurt. That's what I'm afraid of. All jokes aside, I'm not the biggest Philip Rivers fan to begin with. I think Philip Rivers accumulated a lot of numbers and played in one AFC championship game, if I'm not mistaken. Had a decent years last year with the Colts, but he was immobile then. He's going to get hurt. He's playing against maybe the best defense in football, one of the best pass rushers in football today, and I'm afraid he's going to get hurt. This Max, this is, you look up desperation in the dictionary. This situation should be plastered there as an example. There are, I believe, Riley Leonard or even Rippon, who they signed for third string, would be better options than Philip Rivers at this point. Colts season's falling apart around them. These things happen. It's the NFL. What's turned to look like a storybook season is turning into a nightmare for this team. And it looks to me like they won't make the playoff. And if Philip Rivers is starting quarterback, they're not winning any games. I'm making him beat me. Darts is a UK game, and PDC is overwhelmingly owned by Barry and Eddie Hearn. Barry made his wealth in boxing. Matchroom is opening a stateside office to focus on darts, etc. in the USA in 26. CA's been our professional dart correspondent, I think, pretty much since we started this podcast, CA. And we've learned a lot. We learned we can get these big tournaments on FanDuel TV. We learned some of the big names and whatnot. And these guys, I've watched a few of these matches. I used to play some darts. These guys are phenomenal. I couldn't even beat a goalie on their team. Michael Dighton Edwards, love his decided to skip the ball game and take his ball and go home. Actually, Love didn't make any of those decisions, so let's not paint Love in the wrong picture there, Greg, because that was the university's decision. Shameful, by the way, not for any other reason than, to me, they blow a perfect chance for underclassmen to be able to practice for 3 more weeks. That's the big deal here. I understand Notre Dame doesn't need whatever pittance they're going to get paid by whatever bowl game they go play in. If I'm not mistaken, they were going to get pitted against Texas in a Pop-Tart Bowl. Might have been fun. But, they decided to deprive those underclassmen of those 3 weeks of practice. So the next time you want to get on players and call them quitters, how about we call out Notre Dame and we call out Kansas State and we call out all these other schools, 10 schools in all. 7, I think, of them were 5 and 7 teams that they came to later looking. So 3 teams said no to bowl games that were picked for bowl games. Let's call them out, right? Let's not pick out the kids. I'm starting to understand the kids. The bowl games, why are you playing them? Nobody wants to play them. The teams don't want to play them. The coaches or the players don't want to play them. Some of them do. Kids at Washington apparently wanted to play. I guarantee the kids at Navy and Army will want to play in their bowl games. I don't think people are quitters in these situations anymore. I need a different description. And the Notre Dame AD, go play in a league. If you played in a league, you'd be in. You don't want to give up your guaranteed money from TV, and you don't want to give up the fact that you don't have to share any of the playoff money or bowl money, whatever, wherever you end up, which would run in a playoff would run from $4 million to maybe, I don't know, $20 million. It's all yours. You don't have to split it with 12 other teams, 16 other teams. It also screws you in these situations. If you played in the league, you probably would have been in. I think Notre Dame belongs. I've talked about this forever. Well, the last few months, and certainly the last week, since the decision was made, I fully expected. I sat here last Sunday morning telling you I expected Miami to be out, and they wouldn't have a gripe if they did, if they were out. They would not have had a gripe. Yeah, I can make an argument that the head-to-head should matter. And NCAA did a great job of manipulating the entire thing. One place where the Notre Dame AD is not wrong, when you sit there and you have a selection show for 5 weeks and say Notre Dame's better than Miami, and then in the last week you say Miami's better. It's stupid. Notre Dame never should have been ranked ahead of Miami if that's the case. And if you waited till last week to make the selections and don't tell anybody what they were beforehand or what you were thinking beforehand, we could have left Oklahoma out. We could have left Alabama out. We could have left There's some other teams I would probably keep out too. And Notre Dame and Miami would both be in this field. That's just my opinion. Notre Dame's one of the top 5 teams in the country now, at least one of the top 7. But they don't belong in the field based on what criteria there is now. Sorry. And if you were in a league, this wouldn't have happened. AD at multiple Power 5 schools are going to freeze out Notre Dame from their schedules. They say they are. They say they are, Jeremy. Everybody wants Notre Dame on their schedule. Everybody. Right? So we'll see if that comes to be. And again, they'll have the excuse of, conference schedules being what they are. Who's there? Who's over there? Who's over there? Hang on one second. Hang on one second. We have a special guest to make some comments on this Notre Dame situation.
Here we go.
Hi.
See you.
Hello. Hi. Hi, Scarlett. You miss? What's the matter? Why are you crying?
She just misses you.
Aw, I miss you too. But I love you. I give you big hugs. You want to say hello? Say hello. Oh, we better not show you crying on TV. We love you. You want me to give you a kiss? Give you a kiss? I don't like to see you cry.
I thought it would make me smile. Sorry.
I love you. You want to go back to Grandma? All right. I love you. Bye-bye. Sorry, we had to interrupt the show for an important... Oh, yeah, sure. We had to interrupt the show to try to stop my granddaughter from crying. She was just a little upset because she misses us. Oh, there's a hand back there. Look at that. She's showing her the Christmas tree now. We're trying to get her settled in. Anyway. So anyway, Jeremy, we'll see what happens, whether they freeze them out or not. I mean, money talks, right? And Notre Dame means money. So, we'll see what happens there. Hello, Paul Spada. How are you? Danny says he guarantees the JMU game will be the most lopsided of the 4 games. I don't disagree, quite frankly. And as I look at those games, by the way, it's funny, too, because there's a couple of gripes I have, and I brought this up last week. I don't have a gripe with Miami. Miami's got the toughest route to anywhere. And look, you're in 10th seed. You should have a tough route. But they got to get through. If they beat A&M, they got to beat Ohio State. Then they got to beat Georgia or Ole Miss. Most likely Georgia. My biggest gripe is Indiana gets the number 1 seed. And tell me what, and then I'll give you a couple of picks here too that you guys can chew on. What's the advantage to being the number 1 seed here? Again, because you have no chance to play the 10, 11, or 12 seeds. None. You got to reseed these teams. If Miami were to win, they should get Indiana or Tulane. I mean, if Tulane should win, James Madison's going to play Oregon, and they are going to get creamed, by the way. Who's Tulane playing? Let's say Tulane upsets Ole Miss, which is a rematch, by the way. They played earlier in the year. And Ole Miss beat them up pretty badly. A couple of years ago, though, Ole Miss either lost to Tulane or had a very, very close game with them at home. But Georgia would get Tulane, not Indiana? That makes no sense. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. First round games next week. Oregon, I'd love to just destroy James Madison, by the way. Bama and Oklahoma. As bad as Alabama played that last game, maybe the last 2 games, I like Alabama only because Oklahoma's offense is putrid. John Mateer, overrated or needs help. Ole Miss should roll over Tulane if there's going to be an upset. No, not going to say that. Ole Miss rolls over Tulane, and the upset would be Miami over Texas A&M. I don't see that as a huge upset. 10-7. I like Miami right now in our pool that Paul set up graciously. Thank you, Paul. I do have Miami winning it all. Heart, not head. My head says Ohio State's favorite here. Chris says, UCL, you never say this guy's name. Puig still playing professional baseball. Cleaned up his act, but he's kept catching up with him. He's well past being able to play, though. Where's he playing? Mexico? Middle East? Where is he playing, Chris? Hello, Matt. How are you out there in Orange County, California? Go Chargers. I do like the Chiefs today. Danny wanted me to pick the Chiefs, and he probably knew where I was going. The time to circle the wagons for the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs to get it done today. Some of the bigger games. I'll give you my we're going to go through the in fact, we'll do it in a second. Let me try to get caught up on some of these. Best Christmas movie. I love Elf. Elf's one of my favorites. I got so many. A Christmas Carol, very good. I like the George C. Scott version myself. Wonderful Life's a great movie. Elf is becoming one of my favorites. I never watched the Santa Clauses before I met my wife 10 years ago. And I actually like the first two Santa Claus movies a lot. Tim Allen's one of my favorites for a lot of reasons. They're very good. Four Christmases, underrated Christmas movie. A Christmas Story, great Christmas movie. We went to see a musical done by a local review, if you will, here at Cohoes Music Hall the other night. It was fabulous. The kids were awesome in this, and the adults too. But it was very, very well done and a lot of fun. It may indeed be Dillingham. Fitch says no. Jeremy, if not, I kind of like the rumor of Gruden getting hired. You know what? Gruden comes up for every job mentioned. John Gruden's not going to Michigan. I don't think. I think it'd be a great fit. I think Gruden would be okay in college, but the guy's got all pro experience, basically. If he coaches again, I think it's in the NFL, and I don't see him going to Michigan. Notre Dame's a place that, if for some reason, it's the only college job I've ever really thought there goes John Gruden. And that would take Marcus Freeman leaving, obviously, and I don't know that that's going to happen. Canoodling. There you go. Fit that in a conversation with your wife later. Let me know how it goes. Reports out of Ann Arbor have Kalen DeBoer the top target. Again, these guys all come up. Every coaching job, we see the same names, right? I don't think DeBoer is going to do what he did to Alabama, what he kind of did to Washington 2 years ago. Plus, I don't know why is Michigan a better job right now? I don't think Michigan's a better job than Alabama, other than the fact that you're no longer the guy following. A lot easier to follow Sherrod Moore and Jim Harbaugh than it is to follow Nick Saban. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Fish is a much better candidate. I don't think Dillingham's going anywhere. And I do like Paggi, quite frankly, in the short term. You need some stability right now. Stability is the most important thing. Whatever you do, and I'm assuming from what I've read that Paggi has a pretty good relationship within the structure of the team, the coaching staff, the players, most importantly, the undergrads that are already there. I don't know about the recruits that may have visited already. But keeping what you have in place is probably the most important thing right now, including the recruits that have already committed and the kids that are already there. And to me, keeping Paggi might be the easiest path to more stability. And I think with what's going on there right now, this is a lot different than when Harbaugh left 2 years ago. Stability is of the utmost importance right now for Michigan. Rivers being signed as a joke. Hello, Neil Bush. How good to have you with us. Same old Colts bring back Jeff Saturday, too. That'd be the oldest center quarterback combo in the history of by two, times by two. Or I'm sorry, doubled, I guess. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. I fear for Phillips Rivers' life, quite frankly. I mean, I hope he doesn't get hurt badly. I'm not joking when I said it looked like his head on my body. Paul, yo, Paul. How are you, buddy? Good to see you, Neil, by the way. Neil did win. Congratulations to Neil if you're still there. How far behind am I? Can't be that bad. Not bad today. Congratulations on winning the college football pool. Neil Bush, the South Carolina fan. I'd like to say congratulations on Sellers coming back to next year to South Carolina, but I'm not sure if congratulations are in order or not. Rivers in 2007 lost to the New England Patriots in Foxborough. He was hurt. Quite frankly, toughed it out, but won the AFC Championship game. Thank you for the call out, Danny. Knew somebody pick up on that crumb. Michael says he sent more the hyperlink to employment ops at Dollywood. He can serve dipping dots to the masses. Clean up his life. I don't know if I'd want him giving dipping dots to my kid. Hello, AC. Good to have you with us. Danny turned in his darts for axe throwing. You know, I like axe throwing myself. My wife actually wants to go. We actually saw it in a... I'm watching a reality. I don't watch reality TV. I have a strict rule against it. My wife sucked me into this one called June Farms. It's about a wedding and event God. What's the word I'm looking for? Wedding and event location. How about that? Not the word I'm looking for. Right here near us, not 20 miles from us. And it's really pretty interesting what this guy has done on 120 acres up there and built these fabulous wedding and event venues outside, inside. And it's quite a thing, but I started watching it, and there was a piece where they took somebody. There was a date between two of the employees because we have to have dating, of course. Which I don't watch reality TV, but they went to this axe throwing place where I'd been actually for a event for a team building exercise when I was working. I took my team there, and we had a lot of fun. And my wife wants to go, so we're going to go on a date night axe throwing very, very soon. So a lot of fun. Targets are now Vic and no more. Personally, I don't know which one's worse. Matt, who obviously has some affection for Phillip Rivers, says, let's go Phillip Rivers. I'm hoping he wasn't coming back unless he was ready. Does he look ready? $5 years away. 44 years old. Not 5 years away and 29 years old. Desperation. There's no way this works out well. And I will eat. You guys know me. If I'm wrong, I will tell you. I don't see how I can be wrong on this one. Call out Lane Kiffin as well. Just say, I have called up Lane Kiffin. Danny, come on. You know, I've been a supporter of Lane Kiffin. And I said during that whole saga, I called him out for handling it very poorly, for trying to portray Ole Miss as the bad guy here when they weren't. You know, I have said, and Lane Kiffin has a right to go coach anywhere he wants. His contract gives him that right. Most of them do. He wanted to stay on and coach for the good of the university, giving him an ultimatum. Listen, I have called out Lane Kiffin, so don't. Just to be clear, I mean, maybe you weren't here when I did. I've done it several times since this whole thing came down 2 weeks ago. It didn't have to go this way. Lane Kiffin could have left, and it didn't have to be this acrimonious, right? And he handled it very badly. Trying to paint the university as the bad guys here. Lying about the players going to the university. Wrong. Former pro wrestler Lawrence Turan turned 74 next May 21st. Did he have a name or something I'd know him by? Because I don't know that name at all, Chris. But happy birthday, Lawrence. The selection committee was and is a farcical joke. Please read my last article. Please. Yes, read. Definitely read Michael's. Read all of Michael's articles. They're all very good. Stop trying to offer a solution for the college football mess when the fix is leadership. I don't know that that's a fix, quite frankly. You could do better than you're doing here. Again, just not showing us who your rankings are for 5 weeks and then changing them at the last second, which you've done several times over the years, going back to BCS, the BCS bowl system. That would be helpful. Again, they're trying to fix something that really is unfixable. We all thought, including myself, that this playoff was going to be a wonderful thing. And it hasn't been terrible, right? Yeah, we're picking a champion on the field. That's what we want. But now we're arguing about who the 12th team in the country, the 12th best team in the country is. As I said, I'm getting ready to say, let's go back to the old bowl system and we just vote for it. And then I only got to argue who's over number 1. I don't have to argue about who's number 12. 3 lost Notre Dame. 3 lost Alabama or Oklahoma should have been left out for Notre Dame. I agree, Neil. I think both of them should have been left out, quite frankly. I don't think either one of those teams belongs in. You want to look at resumes, go look at Oklahoma's. Where's their signature win? Texas? Miami's got better wins than that. Notre Dame doesn't have that signature win. That's their problem. The problem is the eye test says they're one of the top 5 teams in the country. I'm sorry. Watch them play. It's not always who you're playing. It's how you're playing. And maybe teams will freeze them out, as Jeremy said. The ACC certainly looks like they want to go nuclear on Notre Dame. But are they really willing to forfeit membership in the ACC for 24 other sports besides football? I don't know. Where are you going? No other league is going to take you unless you bring your football team. Nobody. I love that special guest. Made my day to see that moment. Well, she was crying, so it did make my day. Often she was crying for me. She just misses us. She was here all day yesterday. Today she misses us. She has very big feelings, and she's a sweetheart of a girl. And I love her to death. So, and often I can stop her from crying. Today we couldn't do it, but she's a sweetheart. Major League 3 starred Married with Children's Ted McGinley. Did anyone here watch that movie? I did see that. Was it Back to the Minors? Because the star of that movie was Scott Bakula, if I'm not mistaken. Chris, help me if I'm wrong. Corbin Burnson, also from the original Major League movies, was in it. A decent flick, not nearly as good as the first 2 for sure. I called Boston Paul and cry sometimes just like that. Garth Brooks played in spring training, the minors for both the Royals and the Padres. Neither were publicity stunts. Garth could play baseball on a professional level. There's been a few guys that have done that. Charlie Pride back in my day, used to work out with the Texas Rangers and actually played in minor league games. I don't know if Garth did or not. And I'm not sure if Garth could play on a major league level. But minor league baseball, at least professional baseball. But Charlie Pride was really good. There's somebody else, too, I'm trying to think of that has done things like that. But it's always fun to see. I don't think you see that stuff like you did back in the day. Charlie Pride was like in the 70s. I know he played at least one exhibition game because I know he went like 1 for 4. Die Hard is the best Christmas movie. I didn't bring it up because of I just watched Die Hard the other night, by the way, to kick off because it isn't actually the Christmas season until Hans Gruber falls from the Nakatomi building. We all know that. So, good call by Matt. Can almost guarantee Paji won't be attracting any special assistants and causing any debacles. Listen, I'm old and I'm fat, so I take exception to both those remarks. Sellers will have a real offensive coordinator and more experienced O-line, hoping he matures. Well, he cost himself millions of dollars in the NFL this year, by the way. He's got tons of talent. It's up to him, I guess. To avoid further confusion, Vlad Guerrero Jr. With the Mets is now going by Vladdy Guerrero. Not too much to report. He's only 19. They call Vlad the other Vladdy too. Change his name. Venue. Jesus, thank you so much. Jesus, God. I think it's easy getting old. Venue. I got several people. Linda, thank you. Venue. If you haven't watched it, it's on Prime. And that location, if you haven't watched June Farms, it's really cool. We watched the first, I think there's only one season, I'm pretty sure. Interesting guy. The guy who owns it owned like 15 different restaurants, bars, Wolf's Beard Gardens, which was huge here in upstate New York. Sold them all and bought this place, I don't know, 7 years ago. Quite a while ago now. Very good, though. You did watch it, Dandy. That place is like 20, maybe 30 miles from where we are. I think I can get fast, probably 20. Beautiful area where it is. And I keep watching the show to see if I see people I know. I think that's why I watch it. Philip Rivers has been throwing with his high school team and coached to the playoffs. How does coaching in the playoffs help him, Matt? Or you're not Matt. Sorry, you're Jeremy. And I've been throwing a baseball, a lot for the last 65 years. And I don't think I'm ready to go play professional baseball. And I realize I never did, so it's a little bit different story. 44 years old, hasn't played. And by the way, how many guys, let me ask you a question. How many linemen and linebackers were hitting him during these throwing sessions with his high school team? It's not going to end well. He looks like Steven Seagal trying to get a legit action hero after 135 pounds of gainage. I am scared. All the joking aside, I am scared for Philip Rivers as well. You don't just get up. This is Joe Flacco had been on a couch for 3 months, not 5 years. Dangerous. This is dangerous. Listen, this is like boxing, letting somebody sitting out, look, I don't know, giving a license to a guy who hadn't boxed in 10 years. What about Kayla DeBoer's daughter unfollowing her Washington softball team on social media? She now follows University of Michigan softball team. Oh my God. I don't know anything. Oh my God. All right. Kayla DeBoer, there's the evidence that we needed, Jeremy. Well done. great investigative work by your. How do we even know this? And how is that evidence of anything? By the way, she wasn't following the Alabama softball team either, so maybe she just is going to go to Michigan. I do not think Kayla DeBoer is going to Michigan. That's fair. I don't see that as any great evidence, by the way. Gosh. I was like, oh, well, so-and-so put his house up for sale. He must be leaving town. I could see Philip Rivers come back as an homage to Jeremy. Shout out to every day overweight man making a paid physical achievement on the TV. I got to tell you, guys, of all the things I had on my bingo card today, Ron Jeremy was not on it. So great call, Chris. Ron Jeremy. I saw all of the what? What? Oh. There was only the three. Well, I don't know. Maybe there was more. I'm right that Scott Bakula was a manager in that Major League 3, wasn't it? Back to what was it? Was it back to the majors or back to the minors? Chuck Connor, the rifleman. MLB pitcher turned actor. Good call. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Chuck Connors also played with the Celtics. Right or wrong, people? Help me out. If I don't get an answer, I'll look it up. Die Hard is the most important Christmas movie. You'll get no argument from me there, Jeremy. I get a lot of argument in my own family. I'm the only one who believes this. They keep playing a clip of Bruce Willis saying Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Well, I'm pretty sure his current affliction must have taken over at that point in time. I mean, no disrespect to Bruce Willis. Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and it is the most important Christmas movie because we all know Christmas season does not start until Hans Gruber falls from the Nakatomi building. This isn't hard. We got the baby Jesus. We got Hans Gruber. Don't write me, please. Randy Savage and Kurt Russell played the minors. Randy Savage was Randy Pofko at the time, catcher for the in the Cardinal organization. Good call, Matt. And Kurt Russell played for the team his father owned. If you haven't watched the Battered Bastards of Baseball on Netflix, you have to watch it. It's a documentary about the Portland Mavericks. Bing Russell, who was Kurt Russell's father, and a very a working man's actor, if you will, was in Westerns like crazy. He was in a bunch of episodes of Bonanza, playing a bunch of parts in Westerns. He bought this minor league team. They were an independent team when he bought them, and he ran them for a couple of years. A great story. And Kurt played on that team a bit. He didn't play a lot, but he did play, and was a very good ball player. So, Battered Bastards of Baseball. I know I must have brought it up on this show before. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, certainly give me a review. What about the Falcons having more penalty yards than Bijan rushing, yet they won the game? You know, I don't know what to make of that game. The Buccaneers seem to get worse as they get healthier. And sorry, I got distracted by a happy birthday to Dick Van Dyke. Happy 100th birthday to Dick Van Dyke yesterday, by the way. I don't know what to make of the Buccaneers. They get healthier, they get worse. The Falcons had no business beating this team the other night. I don't. Kirk Cousins has no business throwing for 300 and some yards, having a great night against this team. I think their defense has gotten worse. I'm not sure what to say, and then all of that is not going to save the coach's job in Atlanta. He's a dead man walking. Morris is a dead man walking. I'm reading Miracle Man by Nolan Ryan in 1993. He was going as he was going into his final season, he attributed his longevity to simply taking care of himself. Nolan Ryan was a physical fitness freak, and if you remember, Nolan Ryan also had an interesting cure for he suffered with blisters badly early in his career when he was with the Mets and early in his career with the Angels. But he had a pitching coach who had him soak his hands in pickle rind, pickle juice, and must have hurt like a bastard. But it toughened up his hands, and he did not have a big blister problem thereafter. Just pointing out, they said that on the Huskies podcast. Whatever. Maybe is that important, Jeremy? I don't know. When I say whatever, I don't mean I'm not trying to whatever you. I say a lot of stuff on this podcast that couldn't possibly be true. I'm just kidding. I try not to report stuff that is just pure conjecture, and I don't think what you do on social media is really indicative of what your father plans to do in real life. Just me. Just getting the phone call. I bet Rivers got his wife pregnant again. They got 9 kids. I'll tell you something. Just getting the phone call. I bet Rivers got his wife pregnant again. They got a lot of kids. Connor did play basketball. I know Chuck Connors had a brief but notable pro basketball playing career with the Boston Celtics. There you go, in the inaugural BBA season. And briefly in 46 to 48, roughly. I had Savage in the Cardinal organization. In fact, I remember seeing a baseball card. Well, I'm not saying he didn't play in the A's. Let me see. Randy Poffo. Can't find him as Randy. Who did Randy play baseball for? Macho Man played minor league baseball as a catcher outfield for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds from 71 to 74, never reaching the major leagues. Let's see if there's one more thing here. Let's just see if the A's are mentioned here at all. Chicago White Sox briefly as well, but no mention of the A's, Michael. Sorry, we just like to be accurate. I don't like to give out bad information like, I don't know who anybody's following on social media, though, to tell you that. Michael says a great documentary about Russell. Thank you, Keith. Awesome. Great watch. It was a great watch. I've watched that about 10 times. There you go. Michael already caught it. Cardinals, Reds, and briefly with the White Sox. Kyle Pitts was awesome. Great call, Jeremy. He had a career. That's a game everybody's been waiting for Pitts for like 3 years. Highest tight end scoring game of the year in fantasy football history, according to ESPN. Really? That's saying a lot. I'm not going to say they're wrong because I don't track those types of things, but great call. Pickle juice is just a great cure for dehydration. Interesting. I can't drink pickle juice. I love pickles, but pickle juice. I like accuracy. My picks are on a 493 clip, so not accurate, but I do in my writing. You are pretty accurate, by the way. Michael, I can honestly say, and there could be something that was wrong. I don't know. I can honestly say, reading all of your articles, that nothing's ever stood out to me as like, oh, that can't be right. So great job. Read Michael's stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, well, we got a little lull in. Well, we're going to go to about 10:45. I'll give you my picks here. And here's our leaders, by the way. And we'll give you the leaders in the TGI Sports Talk NFL Pick'em. To date, right now, Danny has moved into the lead at 142. Rick is behind him at 138. The Sun God is at 136. I don't remember who the Sun God is. Kenny hanging in there at 135. Poppy's picks are a generic ESPN. I can probably figure out who that is if I look at the managers. 132. TGI Sports Talk is 131. Probably no chance. So few weeks, so many people to pass. I'm 11 behind. Paul is right behind me at 129. Bo is at 1280, which I didn't make picks in his thing again. Fantasy World Peace, which is Michael at 126. J Train down to 125. Drew is at 124. And Sonia is at 124, tied with Drew for last place. So there you have it. Here's the picks for this week and my own selection. These are not for betting because I don't know who I'm betting because there's no spreads involved here. I'm taking the Bears over the Browns. Pretty much a no-brainer. The Bears not a good performance against the Packers last week. Still a bit up and down. This is a young football team. 9-4. We know what that means. Playing for a playoff spot. I like the Bears. Although the best player in the field is certainly going to be Myles Garrett. I like the Bengals over the Ravens today. The Bengals really hurt themselves last week, but still not eliminated because 8-9 might still win this division. Still not eliminated. Run the table. Go to 8-9. I would not be shocked to see 8-9 win this NFC North. Plus, I don't want to see the Ravens make the playoffs and give the Patriots some kind of fits because Lamar Jackson, who played much more like Lamar Jackson last week in a loss to Pittsburgh, much more movement around the pocket and scrambling. I think the Ravens have tried to keep him in the pocket to keep him healthy when he's been on the field. They did open it up a bit. As Danny heard earlier, I did take the Chiefs and am taking the Chiefs at 6-7. Their backs have been to the wall, but their backs are more to the wall now. I'm taking them simply because they've been so good. They're at home. If they weren't at home, I would not be taking them in this game against the Chargers. Sorry, Matt. But I think there's one last gasp in this Chiefs game. Get to 7-7. See what the landscape looks like. They still got a chance to sneak in the playoffs as a wild card. It's very slim. Running the table is what's needed. Winning home games is where you start. Chiefs have been very good at home over the years. One of the bigger home field advantages in football. I like the Chiefs. The Patriots and the Bills. Somehow the Bills are favored by 1.5 in this game because people obviously are not watching football who put these lines out. I take that back. The lines are there for one thing, to get as much money bet on both sides of the game as they can. You give me Patriots. Give me the points for the Patriots anywhere right now. I will take them against anybody. And I don't often bet my team. And I only bet them when they're getting points because I don't ever want to be pissed off when we win and they don't cover. So when the Patriots are dogs and they are good right now, and I think you guys know me. I think you know that I don't sit here wearing rose-colored glasses and tell you that my team is going 17-0. My team's going 162-0. I tell you when I think there are problems, and I'm not saying this is a perfect Patriot team. The weapons around Drake May could be better. This team is getting better most every week. They need to get healthier. Now, that's the problem. The offensive line's banged up. They got some injuries on defense. But Travion Henderson now has become a real weapon. That was the silver lining to Stevenson being out for a few weeks. The team's taking better care of the football. Drake May gets better. He's the most accurate passer in football, especially throwing the ball downfield. This is going to be a one-score game. Patriots win this game late. Giants over the Redskins. Is anybody going to be watching this game? I'll take the Giants. Danny might be watching this game. Eagles, who have got all kinds of problems. Nick Sirianni, I think, is on a hot seat there. This is a coaching. There's too much talent on his team to let the egos get in the way. And when you do that, coaching has to take over. And he has not. He's a coach. I've said this many times now. Nick Sirianni is a really good coach when things are going well. And good coaches are good coaches when things are going well. Great coaches are great coaches when things aren't going so well. And I don't think Nick Sirianni's that guy. And I think Nick Sirianni is going to be in big trouble if the Eagles fold like they did 2 years ago. And it's starting to look a lot like 2023 in my mind. With that said, I do think they beat the Raiders and Kenny Pickett today. And Pete Carroll may be one and done in Vegas. I'll take the Jaguars over the Jets. Jaguars, not just me, a lot of us keep riding the Jaguars. It's not for real, but here they are 9-4 and leading their division. The Colts are collapsing, the Texans and the Jaguars are on fire. And speaking of Texans at 8-5 now, get the Cardinals. They're going to go to 9-5 after starting the season 0-3. Could be a tough team to play in the playoffs with that defense. I'm going to take Green Bay going into the mile-high atmosphere of Denver. Part of this is a heart bet because I want Denver to lose and keep the Patriots in line for the bye and home field advantage through the playoffs. But this is going to be a matter of, I think, two good defenses and a quarterback who makes the least mistakes will win this game. Rams and the Lions. Sorry, Brian. I just can't see any way the Lions are going on the road and beating this Rams team right now. Really good defense. Matthew Stafford at 39 years old having an MVP caliber season. This is a good football team. Maybe the best team in football right now. We'll see. The Panthers going to the Saints. I don't really like the Panthers because I don't know what team's going to show up from week to week. This team could very well go to New Orleans and throw up a stinker and lose. But I don't see that happening. I think the Panthers stay in first place with that Bucs loss and a win today. 49ers over the Titans. The Titans are no good. Probably going to end up with the number one pick again this year. 49ers in a tough race with Seattle and with the Rams in that NFC West. The best division in football, hands down. Seattle with the best defense or one of the best defenses in football, great pass rush. I think they destroy the Colts today. I think the line's 13.5. I like this by at least 3 touchdowns. And I think you can count on Phillip Rivers to get knocked out of this game. Sorry, I don't want him to get hurt, but that's what I see. Cowboys, season hanging by a thread as well, 6-1. Good job of bouncing back here. I think a pretty good coaching job by Brian Schottenheimer. Win is essential, and I see it happening against the Vikings, who played pretty well last week, and so did J.J. McCarthy. And the Dolphins resurging at 6-7, going to Pittsburgh. I'm going to go against the trend here and take Miami to beat this Pittsburgh team and keep that AFC North on a pace to go with an 8-9 winner. All right, let's see if I can get through the rest of these comments before we got to run. We got a lot of them. Here we go. We're going to try to get through them quickly. 126 in picking every game in the league this year. Good job. That wouldn't be leading our pool, though, as I said, Danny's at 142. Great job, but good for you, Jeremy. Thank you, Michael. PSA, my picks are tainted. I missed a week when I was in the Dominican. It wouldn't let me make picks unless I paid 3,000 peso surcharge. Sorry about that, Michael. We'll add 10 to your I didn't know that happened. You showed I can't do anything anyway. The problem with using free services is you get what you pay for. So Impressive numbers, we know. There are some good numbers in there. Chargers win. Patriots win. It's going to be weird not hearing Joe Flacco's name next year. Like Russell Wilson. His name always pops up on a football show. It will, Chris. Go Brownies. Home underdogs win any percent of the time versus the spread. I have no way to check that today, but I'll take your word for it. And I'm a big home dog bettor. I would think there's some bad teams that might skew that number a little bit. But I'm a big bettor of home dogs. I love home dogs when they're good. Yes, sure, CA. Not sure what CA said. Peace to you, Michael, as well. Thank you for being part of the show again this week. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I always have a great time. Sirianni's losing the locker room. It looks just like 2023, doesn't it? Eagles defense has issues covering athletic tight ends. Brock Bowers is a lock for fantasy football. Brock Bowers is a lock for real football. Unfortunately, he's on a horrible team. Panthers are playing for first place. Listen, I think they win this game. I just don't know. Again, it's not a team I trust a whole lot because I don't know what team's going to show up from week to week. So, in any event, good stuff this week, guys. I appreciate you guys coming and stopping in and making my Sunday morning so easy. I always have a blast. Since we got a second, I think we'll play the oops, what do you got there? Sorry. Somebody put a comment up. Just heard this Brandon Ayuk is about to retire. He hasn't played all year, has he? This guy's good to have you with us this morning, Scott, by the way. I'm not a little surprised about Ayuk. I mean, he's an interesting cat. But we're going to wrap it up with that, guys. I really appreciate you being with me. For that, hopefully we don't hear this later. A great week. I'm going to be back. Jack and Keith Weekend Playbook. See you later. Bye-bye, guys. Let's go, Patriots.